Welcome back to the Christianity and Business Podcast, an initiative of the Archie W. Dunham College of Business at Houston Christian University. I'm your host, Darren Shear, and this is a show that helps Christian business leaders to integrate biblical values into business. On this episode, we're joined by Nneka Unachukwu. Dr. Una, as she is known, is a pediatrician, serial entrepreneur, and co-pastor of Dominion City Church alongside her husband of 18 years. She's on a mission to help 100,000 physicians build profitable businesses so they'll have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on their own terms. She does this through the Top 1% EntreMD podcast, multiple best-selling books, live events, and the EntreMD Business School. And her company's been listed on the Inc. 5000 list of the fastest growing privately held companies for 2 years in a row. Congratulations on that. And she also homeschools her 4 children on top of everything else. That's just amazing. Dr. Una, welcome to the Christianity and Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excited to have you. When did you first realize God wanted to be involved in your work and business?
So there are 2 times. How about that? My very first business was my private practice that I started 15 months out of residency, out of my pediatric residency training, which to put it in context, nobody really does that. That's not a thing. You kind of practice for a while. And at that time, the time we started was the same time we started the church. And really, I looked at what I did in that business as ministry because I was like, well, we don't have to, we can sponsor the church. We can take care of the bills as we start the church and all of that. And we looked at the private practice as a minister of the gospel because it was, like supporting the ministry that we had to do. And, of course, I had to bring in, values like the way I would treat my team, the way I would treat my patients, the expectations I would have for the business, like it would succeed because, of what the scriptures say about that, right? Like, so Joshua 1:8, for instance, now this book of the law should not depart out of your mouth, but meditate therein day and night. And so you can observe to do all that is in there. And then then you'll prosper and you'll have good success. And so just things like that, I started applying those. But with my second business, that is where things really took a completely different turn. And so this was 2016. I remember being in my office, time of prayer and meditation. And I remember just having this knowing, like medicine as you know it is gone. It's changed completely. Now, 2016, it wasn't obvious. Now it's obvious, but it wasn't obvious then. And if the only thing you know how to do is what you're doing now, which is, physically taking care of patients, you're going to be out of luck. So you have to retool yourself. You have to adapt. Things have changed. You have to change as well. And so I remember going like, okay, Lord, I don't even know what that means, but okay, so what else could I do? Well, I could learn to be the CEO of my practice as opposed to just the lead pediatrician in my practice. I was like, I run a successful practice. I guess I could teach other people how to do that. People are speakers and they get paid for that. People are, they're authors, they get paid for that. And I started thinking, I was like, okay, I have to retool myself. And in the process of doing that, I was like, wait, but there are 1 million physicians though. Well, at that time it was 800,000. I'm like, there are 800,000 physicians though. So if I'm going to make this transition, why don't we do it together? And that is literally how EntreMD got formed. Like, okay, so this is what we do. We help doctors, build profitable businesses so they have the freedom. Actually, in the beginning, we didn't say build profitable businesses. We said embrace entrepreneurship because that's where it was at the time. And a year after that, and, so we eventually started that in 2018, September 2018. And then here comes, 2019, the beginning of the pandemic, and then 2020. And I remember taking a walk and then God says, I want you to help my physicians. And I'm like, help your physicians? There are 1 million physicians. Like, who am I to help 1 million physicians? I wouldn't know what to do with them. And he's like, will you take care of them? And I remember pretending I didn't hear him. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but I was like, I pretend I didn't hear him. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. It took me a few months. And I understood what he meant. Like, don't do this like a cute side thing you do. Don't have a few one-on-one clients. Like, go all out, you know, and people don't know this, but like burnout is at an all-time high. They're so dissatisfied because they have such a loss of autonomy. There's no financial security. They're being laid off every single day. And they don't have a business education, but now healthcare is an economic space. And so it's like, how do you compete here? We're not equipped to do that. Will you equip them to thrive in the new healthcare space that exists? And so it's like, are you going to go all out to do that? And it took me a few months, but eventually I said yes. And that is when the EntreMD Business School was born. And so for me, all the things that I do in entrepreneurship come out of a very close relationship with him. And I'm literally just following what he wants. There are things I'm doing now. I would not on my own want to do any of them. I'm an introvert. In fact, I started off as a socially awkward introvert. Like, I have a podcast, I would not be doing that. I have books, I would not do that. I would never tell people I have a business school. Like, what do you mean? Harvard has a business school, Emory has a business school, you have a business, like, what are you talking about? But everything is out of the Lord is my shepherd and literally following him, following his leading. It shows up in the way I treat my clients because I see them as people made in the image of God. They wonder how I can have so much faith that they will turn out right, that their businesses will turn out right. I know they're made in the image of God. I know there's gold on the inside of them. I know there's nothing but treasures on the inside of them. And my job is just to be the catalyst to activate that. It shows up with the way I treat my team, because for my team, I'm like, we're collaborating to bring all this good in the world. And my job is to create a win-win situation. At the end of the day, you should walk away from my company, if you ever do, going like, this was the absolute best time in my career, in my personal life and all of that, because of all I learned here, how I was treated, how I was respected and all of that. And even being able to believe to accomplish big goals all comes out of that same relationship with him. Like, why would I dare to believe that we could help doctors because of who I'm with? Why would I dare to believe that we could be on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies because of who I'm in partnership with and the fact that it makes the kingdom look really good, right? Right. And it helps me to do what I want to do. So a lot of it is being led by him, using the principles in the Word of God, downloading principles from the Word, because those are the best business principles anyway, because it's not a fad, it's the real thing. So yeah, my relationship with God and my business are not separate at all. Yeah, it's one and the same thing.
Beautiful. What's one of your favorite stories that illustrates the impact being made by EntreMD?
Oh man. Wow. Let me look for one. Okay. So there's a doctor who came into the school, and she was an employed physician at the time. And she says, I think I would love to start a private practice, but I don't know if I should consider joining the business school now, or is this something I should do later? And, because I'm going to start it, I think it was 5 months from them or so. And I was like, yeah, but, opening up your doors doesn't make you an entrepreneur, right? Like, so this is the time to start working on that. And we're going to work on the business before the business, because you don't want to start marketing when you open your doors. You want to be ready to hit the ground running when you open the doors. And so she made the decision to join the business school. And she started doing the work. Now, as doctors, marketing is seen as unprofessional. Sales is seen like clearly very unprofessional. Don't want to be on social media. Many of them are on social media with fake names, like, and all, because it's not a thing we do. But she learned how to market professionally, sell professionally, all of these things. And when she opened her doors with 350 patients on a waiting list. Wow. Like ready to go. Before they opened their doors, they had 267 or so of them scheduled on her calendar, and they were busy from day one, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was probably at this point, maybe 3.5 years ago. She has thrived ever since. She now has 2 other doctors and a nurse practitioner working with her. We talk about building a dream business and a dream life concurrently. So her kids are in baseball. She's able to take off to travel with them and go do all their sports. Her relationships are better. Her health is better. Because that's the thing about the school, right? Because of who the real founder is, it's not your business that gets better, it's everything that gets better, right? And so it's a total turnaround for her, and she's already only 3 years in. Meanwhile, there are many practices that break even at 3 years, and she's been killing it ever since. And there are hundreds of stories just like that.
I love it. What's one of the biblical business principles or practices that you've noticed most doctors are just not applying?
Oh, so this is so fun. The principle would be around marketing, right? Because we're professionals, we don't do that. And I have this habit of when I'm trying to think of how Jesus would handle something. Mark is the shortest of the gospels. So I'll go read it and say, what exactly does he do? So I remember thinking, I'm like, there's so many ways to market a business. And if you look on ads, it'll say, this is the right way. All the other ways don't work. And I'm like, okay, what are the ways? And so I start reading the book of Mark, and I come to the scripture where it says, and Jesus went to all the towns and all the villages and preached in all the synagogues. And I was like, hang on. Jesus went on a speaking tour to promote his quote, like it's his ministry, but quote unquote, his business. He was out there speaking. And when I think about every city, every village, and every synagogue, I'm like, that's a lot. That's a lot of places to go to speak. And so I came up with this conclusion that if Jesus, the sinless Son of God, could not escape marketing, could not escape going out there to put the word out there of what he did, or what, like what his quote unquote business was about, we can't escape it either. But for physicians, that would be the thing we run away from the most. And unfortunately, in the way our system has worked, we've been fooled into thinking we can get away with it, right? Because what happens is, a regular doctor, get to work, grab your coffee, go to your office, have a seat. Nurse comes in, tells you your patients are ready. You go see the patients, you do all your doctor things, you finish out your notes, send your prescriptions, then you go home. And then you do it again and again. And after 2 weeks, a paycheck magically appears in your bank account. And so you don't realize the marketing engine that goes to work to create all the patient visits that you're getting. And so a lot of times when we would start private practices, our philosophy is hang the shingle and they will come. And many people hang the shingle, and to their shock, people don't come because there's other things that need to happen. And so that is a huge focus of what we do in the business school, is like, you can do this and you can do it in a way that is ethical, is professional, and all of those things. But this is a non-negotiable. This must be done.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. And, some people are thinking, well, I would speak, but nobody's inviting me to come speak. Or I would speak, but I don't know if people are going to show up. And I love how it also says that Jesus would send his disciples to the towns where he was about to come. And so in a sense, Jesus had hype guys, hype men, and women that would go and kind of canvas the area before he would come and speak. And I love how they kind of dramatized that with the Sermon on the Mount and the Chosen series, and just all of the event planning that would have gone into that. And so it just extremely intentional, because he knew that he had a message that people needed to hear. I mean, what's another one that you find that a lot of doctors, and I'm sure all of us, are really struggling with?
That would probably be not looking at the numbers. Like, I don't understand profit and loss statements. Like in our world, if someone is in private practice and they have an insurance-based private practice, they'll have their accounts receivable. Most people don't look at that. It's like, I don't even know what that report is. The biller told me everything is good and there's enough money in the bank account for payroll and all of that. And that is a big mistake, because stewardship is the price for quantum leaps. I'll explain what I mean. In one of the accounts of the parable of the talents, right, it says the person who got 5, when the master came back, said, look, you gave me 5, I got 5 more. And the master says, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Now here's 10 cities. And I'm like, hang on, 5 talents to 10 talents, 10 talents to 10 cities. What is the relationship between 10 talents and 10 cities? But the thing is the faithfulness with the talents that lets you play in the cities phase. Otherwise, you're not going there. And so the revenue we create in business is really just raw material for our next phase if we'll be diligent with it, which means we know how much money is coming in, how much money is going out. We understand what's, for people who have accounts receivable, you understand what is there. You're faithful to collect whatever debt is owed you and things like that. And if we can take it a step further, maybe the profits that you pull out, you're putting them in growth funds, whether that's stocks, whether that's real estate, whatever that is. In fact, for some people, you have 100 grand sitting in a bank account, the simple discipline of maybe putting that in a CD, so at least it's generating some income rather than sitting in your bank account. It's all of those things that set us up and open up doors for us to now play at a much higher level. But if we're not faithful with the money that is coming in, then really what we're telling God is, I know you want to, but please don't trust me with more. I'm not ready, And so the numbers, especially for us as physicians, is kind of like, I don't want, I really want to focus on patient care. I don't want to focus on the numbers. And it's not an either or. It's like, I really want to exercise, but I don't want to diet. It doesn't work that way. This, you serve and earn, it's margin and mission. Both of them need to go together. And what I typically would tell people is, if we don't take care of the numbers, then we have to shut down the business, and then we don't get to take care of anybody. Right. And so for me personally, I can understand it because that was me. My husband he's an accountant by training. And when they would say, oh, it's time for us to look at the books. I'm like, look, I saw the patients. I did all of that. Y'all have fun with the books. And I wouldn't even show up in the meeting. Like, please don't, I don't want to be involved in that. But as people who are Christian entrepreneurs, as people who want to be good stewards of whatever they have on the earth, as people who want to hear God say, well done, thou good and faithful servant, we got to pay attention to that. And the other side is, if we're not looking at that, we're not making data-driven decisions. Like, things are going bad, we don't even know because we're not looking. Like, we have no idea. That's a terrible one.
Yeah. Like Solomon said in Proverbs, know well the state of your flocks. Put your heart into caring for your herds. And our heart is just not into it. It's like, how can we put our heart into something that a lot of us don't even like, having to deal with math and numbers and, but, and Jesus talked about who wouldn't leave the 99 to go after the one. Well, how do you know you're missing one? Like, most of us don't even know something's missing. And when you don't know that, you don't know how much you need to be charging for things, because you don't know how much things are costing you. And it's just a really, really terrible cycle to be in, that puts people right out of business from just not caring. I mean, I talked to a guy a couple of weeks ago, no QuickBooks, he has no idea how, he's in construction, has no idea how to bid for projects because he has no idea how much it's costing. I mean, he knows that he's going to charge a certain hourly rate, but there's nothing on which to base. Is that the right rate? Is it the right rate that I'm paying these guys that are working with me? So that's an excellent point. I wanted to also ask you, Dr. Una, and you've already alluded to some examples, but what's a story of a time when you saw God's hand at work in business?
Okay, I have a number, but let's see. So one would be when we launched the EntreMD Business School. I think you get a kick out of this. Now, when we launched the EntreMD Business School, To put that in perspective, I had just finished fighting with God for months. Like, I'm not going to do this. And then I was going to start doing it. But, the thing to consider is, I don't have an MBA. I didn't get a formal business education or anything. At that time, I owned one business, which was my private practice. And so I had a lot of shame around that, what people call imposter syndrome, because I'm like, what in the world? What do you mean EntreMD Business School? Like, who's fooling who? And so I remember doing my first event, on Trendy Live, where not my first, I had done this event before, but this is where I was going to launch the school and all that. So it was a 6-hour event. I'm talking about, doctors, how we could promote professionally, how we can leverage social media, speaking, all of these things. I do all of that. And then I talk about the business school, pitch it, all that. And there were 321 people registered for this event. At every point in time, I think the maximum number of people we had simultaneously on that Zoom call was 200 people. So there are a number of people. And so we finished the event. I shut down my Zoom. I go to look like how many people joined the school. I didn't even have the guts to charge appropriately for the school. It's like $497 a month. Okay. I was like, and when I was building, I knew I was building a business school. I knew that the minimum this would be 25K a year. Like I knew that, but I can't, like, I just can't. So I finished that, shut down my Zoom, go look at my account. 2 people had joined the school. 1, 2 out of 200, out of 320 registered. And I was like, and I'm telling people how to market, right? Like, imagine the irony. And I'm like, okay. In that moment, I stop. I'm like, okay, Lord, I know if I go down this rabbit hole of, I cannot believe only 2 people signed up, blah, 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 that I'm going to mess everything up. So what do I do? So he asked me a question. He says, how many people did you have in the EntreMD Business School this morning? I said, 0. He said, how many do you have now? I said, 2. He said, so what do you say when you go from 0 to 2? When you get 2 things, what do you say? I say, thank you. He said, good. So practice gratitude, go to bed, we'll take care of it, right? So I go, I'm like, oh Lord, thank you for the 2 people in business school, da 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 da, and all that stuff. And then I'm thinking, of course, I'll wake up the next morning and there'll be 20 people there, right? Because I have practiced gratitude. Wake up the next morning, 2 people. I'm like, okay, Lord, there's still 2 people. And then he said, when is your cart going to close? Like, when are you closing and starting orientation? He said, a week from now. I said, a week from now. I said, okay, so if you knew everything, if you had 10 people sign up on Saturday, how would you approach these next 7 days? I'll go all out. I'll do what I need to do on social media, my email campaign, all of that. He said, do that as if you had 10 people on Saturday. So we do that. Now, this is fun to talk about because it's a journey of faith, right? Because it's 7 days. And so, one day one person will sign up, the next day nobody signs up, because the thing is, it's always an invitation to quit. And if I had quit, there would not be a company that's made the Inc. 5000. There will not be a company that's produced 4 books. There will not be the EntreMD podcast that has hundreds of thousands. Like, all of that, that's the opportunity cost every time we quit. So here I am going, the last day we have 10 people. Okay. We have 10 people in the morning, but I knew the commitment I made is I'm going at it till the end. So the last email goes out at 8 p.m. Like, here's it. These are your final notice. Doors are closing, all of that. Between 8 p.m. and midnight, 12 people sign up.
Wow.
I end up with 22 people. I'm like, golly. But this is the thing. If I didn't do that journey with him, I would have been done on day 1. I was like, maybe I could give them a refund and tell them I was kidding about the EntreMD Business School and stuff like that. And that's just the birth of a thing, right? I'll give you one more example. We, so the first year, man, there's so many.
Before you move on to the next story, what were some of the other, obviously the Lord is working in the 11th hour in this story. Were there other things that he led you to do kind of in that 11th hour in terms of, do you also attribute some of it to W- Well, there's the fear of missing out. Like, was there a countdown clock? Like, those kinds of things that I see a lot of internet marketers doing.
Yeah, so we had a launch plan, if you will. So on the social media side, it would be a post or two posts a day. Like that was what I was doing, period. Either telling people, like direct invitations to come join the school or testimonials from people I'd worked with before. So not in the school, but maybe on a one-on-one capacity. So stuff like that. We had that dripping the entire time. With the emails, we probably had an email go out every single day. So some of them will be like, your top 10 questions about the school, answered. Some of them will be like, 5 signs that EntreMD Business School is perfect for you. And then we'll say doors, with each one, doors close at XYZ time. So everybody, not everybody, the people who were involved with that were kind of aware that there was a deadline coming. And then on the last day, we did 3 emails. So I want to say 8 a.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m. And 8 p.m. says, the doors are closing. This is your moment type of thing. I don't know, like at 8 p.m., there was nothing different. I think it was more the fact that I kept at it until 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I don't know that anything different happened there. But there are people who will wait, for the last minute. And at the last minute, they're like, okay, let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, but still miraculous to see that many considering only two and then, a couple and then wham, there's 12. Wow. Praise God for that. So sorry, I cut you off on that second story you were about to share.
Yeah. So the second story was okay. So our first year, I think we did, so 2019, I think we did maybe about 100 grand, somewhere around there. And the next year we did about 260. So to put this in context, I think one of my roles is to be a vision board of what is possible. So for instance, I'm not a person who would like to talk about my numbers or anything like that. I'm a very private person. However, I feel like the more people can see what is possible, the more they're like, okay, I've had this dream that I've never really wanted to touch, but apparently we can do stuff like that. And so even when I push to go past what has been the norm for us, is because I don't want to be a glass ceiling. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like you shatter the glass ceiling, but then you become a glass ceiling, and I'm like, just keep upping the ante. And so the third year, I just had this sense that God was like, do 1 million. Like, who goes from 260,000 for 1 million? Like, what in the world? I don't want to do 1 million. Like, and, I think he just ignores me when I do that. He's like, give her a few, she'll come around. And so before the end of the year, I said, okay, fine. So next year, let's shoot for 1 million. Let's see what happens. I don't know how to do that, but let's see what happens. And so, we had the program running. We had raised the prices at that point, by a little bit. We're doing more to reach out to more people and support more people. But I just couldn't bring myself to do that. I just couldn't understand how we would pull it off. And so in March of this year, of the year, we were at probably about 100 grand, 120 grand somewhere. And I can do math. I'm like, if we're at 100, that means at the end of the year, we'll be at 400 or 480. Like, that's not 1 million. Okay. so I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. So I was at a meeting, and this is a meeting for business owners who own female founders who own businesses doing over 1 million revenue. And so I was at this meeting, and so a lady stands up and she's like, oh, I was approached to have my company sold for 9 figures, but I decided against it because I think if we put in the work, in a few years, we should be there because we're doing an easy 1 million a month. And the scriptures say in Proverbs 13:20, like, walk with the wise and become wise. That's one of my favorite scriptures, where it's like, you want to be something, you put yourself in a room where that's the norm and you be that. you know? And so when she said we're making an easy million a month, it made me go like, huh. So here I am acting like I'm going to die because God is like, I think you should go for $1 million for the year. And I cannot even comprehend $1 million. And this person is like easy not million, like easy million a month. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Meeting was in Miami. So I go by the beach and I'm like, I'm going to take a walk and I'm going to walk and pray until I figure this out. And so I'm walking and pacing. I'm like, Lord, he's like, raise your prices. You know what your prices are supposed to be. I'm like, Lord, I can't do that. Like, who will pay that? I can't do that. Okay, how do I do that? Because I'm not confident in it, which means I cannot sell it. Like, people buy confidence. I'm not sold on it, so I can't sell it. And so I'm pacing and praying. First hour goes, still nothing. Pacing and praying. Second hour goes, nothing. Pacing and praying, third hour. So he asked me a question. He says, how much does it cost you to work with me? I'm like, what? What does that even mean? What do you have to give up to work with me? And I'm like, well, you want everything. He says, yes. You're trying to charge 10,000. I charge you everything, like everything you are, everything you own for you to work with me. So I do high ticket, get over it. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. And so I go back up, I change my prices on the website, do all that, call my team, say, this is what we're doing now. And we invited people to join the school after that. And it was so interesting because we had the most people join ever. Because apparently when people are looking for the best, they don't expect the best to be the cheapest. Mm. Right? We had the most people join. We had 42 people join at 10,000 a piece. That's 420,000. We crossed $1 million that year. Wow. Again, that's all because it is that walk with him and following his principles and following his ways. But you talked about, like the construction person, for instance, who doesn't understand the numbers and all of those things. I don't think people realize how much of an evolution is required if you're going to be an entrepreneur. Like, we legit have to walk into it like we don't know anything about this and we're willing to learn, right? Because it's one evolution after the other. The person who started the business could not have taken it to 100,000, could not have taken it to $1 million, could not have taken it to $2 million, or anything like that. Like, we have to continue to evolve to get there.
Yes. Wow, what a journey. And praise God for the way that he's prospered you and just grown and stretched your faith to be able to, because wow, what a big leap. Because you went from pricing at originally it was $497, right? And then it ended up being 10,000.
10,000 for the year. So $497 a month came to about 5,000 a year for the pay in full. So that was double.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, it's a great market too. Doctors are no strangers to paying for education. So
they aren't, but this is different. Uh-huh. It's not something. So we pay for professional education. We pay for things like that. Business, well, maybe an MBA, but not the EntreMD Business School is like, I can Google that stuff. Sometimes people say things like that. People who don't really understand how it works. And so there's still a lot of education around why this is important, the opportunity cost of starting a business without understanding. Like, people say ignorance is bliss, not in business. Ignorance is expensive.
Oh, yes.
Right? Like, ignorance is expensive. Well, and I'm like, no matter what you pay for the school, you're going to make your ROI. That's for sure. Like, even if it's just in the mistakes you don't make, you're going to make your ROI. And, so yeah, so the thing is, the life change on the other side of it is so phenomenal. And it's a hard life when you're not in control. For instance, people don't know that there are 400 physician suicides a year. It's not common knowledge, right? And there's burnout at an all-time high. There's so many problems. So many problems, and we just want to fix that and help them have a different experience.
Yeah,
God didn't make us to be that way, and we're healers. We're in his department, right? In his department.
Yes. Wow. Well, you are truly a redemptive entrepreneur, Dr. Una. So people can connect with you and subscribe to your podcast on YouTube, which is Success by the Book. So we'll have the link in the show notes. Anything else you want to say to people about how they can get involved with what you're doing?
So I think for me, what I would ask people to do is to say yes. And I'll say what I mean by that. I think that would be the greatest gift. The kingdom is looking for people who will be light and salt. The kingdom is looking for people who will be examples of what is possible. And there's a way to look at it where your success becomes an evangelistic tool. I learned this really hard during COVID. Isaiah 61 says, arise, shine. Like, arise, shine, right? Your light has come. The glory of the Lord is risen upon you. Darkness is over the earth. Gross darkness is over the people, but the Lord's glory is risen over you. Then it says, nations will come to your light. Kings will come to the brightness of your rising. And so the more we can lean into the principles from the Word of God, the more we can follow his directions, the more we can manifest his glory, the more we can walk in the success that is ours from the Word of God, the more people say, like, I didn't know about this Jesus stuff, but I really like you and you like Jesus. Maybe Jesus is not that bad, right? And so the more we shine, the more we put the kingdom out front and center for people to see, the more we live lives that are always preaching the gospel, even when we're not saying anything. And someone like me, I was around Christians, but I never wanted to be a Christian. I was like, I don't really see them succeeding. I see them, like acting like part of their calling as Christians is to not succeed and for things to not work and for them to be broke and all of those kind of things. And I also thought he'll send me to China to be a missionary. Nothing against my Chinese friends, but, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I didn't know how much love, joy, peace, goodness was in the kingdom because I never saw it. And so we need so many more preachers, including preachers in the marketplace who can preach without using words.
Yes.
So just say yes. To say, I'm going to make this book my reality. The promises that are there, I'm going to make them my reality. I want people to look at my life and it's almost as though they're reading, like meditate in the Word of God day and night. And you'll be like the tree planted by the water brook that never runs, whose leaf never withers, and everything you lay your hand to do prospers. You're like, people should look at your life and say, oh, that's what that verse means.
Yeah.
That's evangelism in the marketplace.
That's right. Demonstrate the kingdom and then explain the gospel. And I love what Oswald Chambers said. He said, spiritual truth is learned by the atmosphere that surrounds us. So where are you going to get that atmosphere? It's going to be in your workplace. And we have just an amazing opportunity to be the light of Christ and represent him. As you're doing so well, Dr. Una, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us today. I've certainly grown as a result of hearing your heart. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for what you do. This is amazing. I was so excited when I found out about this podcast.
All right, everybody. EntreMD.com is the website, and then Success by the Book is the YouTube channel. Go check out more from Dr. Una there. Thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if so, we would greatly appreciate it if you'd leave us a quick rating and review for the Christianity and Business podcast on iTunes. You can get more information about HCU's Center for Christianity and Business and sign up to receive free access to all issues of the Christian Business Review Journal by visiting our website at christianityandbusiness.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to keep integrating biblical values into your business.